Okay. So please log in into your application with the default credentials, that is admin@BOA, and your password as rules. I didn't get you, Joe. I didn't get you. Okay. Let's have a quick recap of what we have. Yes, Joe, it's the fifth class. Let's have a quick recap of what we have discussed till date, or what we have completed till date, because there are a couple of new people in the class. Okay. So we created a new application. Okay. So we created a new application called as Time Off. Okay. So how did we create that? We went to new application wizard. We completed all the 4 stages over there, and we created a new application. So after creating a new application, I had 4 default operator IDs and some default access group, case types, classes, and everything created by Pega. So I had a partially built application. So this is my application rule, Time Off. I can open my application rule. Always remember that an application is just a collection of rule sets. That's it. So my application Time Off is a collection of all these rule sets. What is a rule set? A rule set is a collection of rules. Okay. So what are rules? Anything executable. Or technically speaking, anything inheriting from rule-class of Pega, we call them as rules in Pega. Okay. So these are my various rule sets. And if I open each of my rule sets, you will find the rules under them. So this is the count of the rules under them. Okay. So this, we have created an application. Then I have my operator ID, I have access groups, I have roles, privileges, everything auto-generated by Pega. So this is my current operator ID, and this is my login ID, admin@BOA, and these are my access groups. Okay. Access group defines which application you can access. So I can access Time Off and Time Off framework application. Then first thing we started dealing was cases, because every application in Pega is completely driven by the flows. So the first thing that we have to take care of is your cases, your case type. So here is my case type, leave. I have divided it into 4 stages, 3 straightforward stages, and 4th one is an alternate stage. So I thought the person will log in and apply for a leave, then it will be sent to a manager for approval, then it will be notified to the person with the email communication. And there is also an alternate stage. So this is like happy path approvals, and this is the negative one, like what if the manager rejects, something like that. Okay. So these black colored ones are called as stages, and this yellow also, of course. And this is called as steps. So step is the actual flow. A stage is a collection of flows. Okay. So I can have multiple steps under it. All these things come under one single stage. Stage is a group of business processes which are related. So if we have multiple processes which are relevant to apply leave, you can put them here. Similarly, if you have multiple flows which are relevant to the approvals, you can put them here. So the group of relevant flows is called as a stage. Just like how your business users speak. They say like, hey, end user was in like leave application stage. End user was in manager approval stage. So the stage can contain multiple screens and multiple flows. But just a group by term is stage. Okay. So we have divided the application into 4 stages, and under each one of them we have a step. Okay. We may be adding steps going down the lane. So now we have some steps. And we have discussed about the stage configurations as well as the step configurations. Okay. Now, if I open each one of these flows, okay, like this. Okay. Just a second, guys. Somebody just joined. Let me mute this. Guys, please mute yourself. Avinash, did you join from 2 sessions?
Yes, I'm disconnecting from another one.
Okay. Okay. I did it. There was a resound, so I just did it. I just muted you. Okay. So we have the stages. Now I'm done with my stages. What is the next thing? You have to build your flows. Okay. So, we were discussing about, this is an automated way of configuring your flows. So, we were discussing about the UI and we did that. So, what we did, in order to build a UI screen, the various components that we use in Pega, we discussed are portals, harnesses, flow actions, sections, layout. So, I told you that there's an automated way of building a section. Section will be embedded inside a flow action. Flow action will be connected to a flow. Actually, on the flow, there is harness who holds the section. In between, there is harness. Okay. So, what is all this? There are UI components in Pega which are used to build a screen. So, section is the actual rule where we build screens in Pega. Flow action is like a container, the UI container. So, after building a section, we put it inside a flow action. Harness is another parent container. So, flow actions have to be embedded inside harness. Then we connect them to the flow. Then the screen will display to the end user. Okay. Similarly, to store the values that the user enters on the screen, we need some variables. They are called as properties. We'll get back to them. Okay. So, I need to create each of these rules individually and map them to the flow finally to make it visible to the end user. There's an automated or a simple way of doing it. If you click on Configure View, when you click on a stage and you click on Configure View, Pega asks you what are the fields that you required on your screen. So if you just type the field names like this, Pega will automatically create sections, map them to flow actions, map them to harness, map them to flow. It will also create variables to store your data. So this is an automated way of building a screen in Pega. Okay. So we just gave this configuration, and now when I create a case like this, or when I create a work object, or when I'm running an application like this, okay, I see my screen like this. So this is automatically built by Pega. I didn't build each of these components, but Pega has done it. Okay. So this is a quick recap what we have done in the last classes. Now if you want to see your flows or the sections, flow actions auto-generated by Pega, you can always move to App Explorer. Okay. Somebody has a question. What is the hierarchy or the flow action, sections and harness? Okay. So section is embedded inside a flow action into the harness. Harness is mapped onto the flow. So this is the hierarchy. The topmost one is a specific one and the bottommost one is a generic one. Or you can say topmost is a child and bottommost is a parent. Okay. What is harness? Okay. Where does property go? Some questions, guys. What is harness? Harness is a UI container which is used to hold this flow action. The main purpose of harness is, Pega by default has 4 default harnesses. They were new, perform, review and conform. We discussed in the last classes. They are Pega's default 4 harnesses: new, perform, review and conform. So based on the screen content and the purpose of the screen, these harnesses will display. Suppose when I am creating a new case in Pega, my flow action and my sections will be present inside new harness, automatically detected by Pega and placed in new harness. Suppose when I am on a screen where I can perform some action, like I can click on a drop down, I can select the calendar icon and all the things, Pega by default holds perform harness at the back end. So I'm in a read-only screen, Pega holds review harness. I'm in a confirmation screen, Pega holds confirm harness. So this is automatically given by Pega for us to perform some actions on the screen. Let me show you a good example of it. In the last classes we have already discussed this. So if I'm on a new harness, it's not actually a template, it's a UI container for us. So like inside the harness, my sections and flow actions are embedded inside it. So if you see this, guys, this is new harness. You see this word new? This is new harness. Okay. If not, you can turn on this live UI. Live UI is a debugging tool to understand which section, which harness, which properties these are. You can compare this to your developer tools of your IE browser. So if I just click like this, you can see their section name is PY Dynamic UI. Okay. So just go up and say like this, It is inside a harness, new harness. Okay? So you are in a new harness now. Because I'm creating a new case. Okay? Chandra, I'll come back to your question after completing this. I saw your question. Okay? Now if I go ahead, this will be perform harness because I can type something like this and all that, right? So this is perform harness. If you want, you can just turn on the live UI. Okay? Thus I'm seeing all your questions. Once I complete this, I'll get back and I'll answer you. Okay? Here is the perform harness. So depending upon the screen and the display you are doing, Pega will automatically identify what harness it needs to put. Okay? So the central area which is highlighted is my screen. All the backend stuff is Pega's default harness and Pega's all containers. Okay? So this is your debugging tool, live UI. Now, let me get back to the other question. Okay. Okay. So I hope I answered the question, what is harness and what does it do? So where does properties go? Avinash answered your question. Properties are variables in Pega. They are going to store your data. So next topic is properties, then I'll explain you like where does they go and where do they store the data. Okay? Because we have 1 or 2 more sessions on UI. After that, I'll get back to properties. Yes, harness is actually a template. And yes, section is embedded inside a harness. It's both, Chandra. It's both actually. When you're dealing with work objects, like when you're moving from one point to another point in a flow, section is actually embedded inside a flow action and flow action is into a harness. But when you create a portal, section is inside a harness. So in both the ways, we can do it. But in the current scenario, in my current screen, section is inside a flow action and flow action inside a harness. So if you turn on the live UI, okay. If you can just go up, you'll find the flow action also. In between, you'll find flow action. Here it is, see. You can see this tree structure now. Section is inside flow action. Flow action is inside this container. Nothing but perform harness. Okay. Section inside flow action inside harness. Okay. Hope that cleared your question, Chandra and Avinash. Avinash, I have been showing this for the first time to everyone, so that's okay. You're not, like everybody is new to this. It's just like this. You just need to click on the live UI, okay? And you can scroll over the components on the screen. Okay. And Deepti, how do you see debugging page? There's nothing called as debugging page in Pega, but we have some debugging tools in Pega, like the bottom ones. Clipboard, Tracer, Live View. First, we have the debugging tools. Okay. I haven't taught debugging tools yet. We are still on the 5th class. So once we come to the debugging part, I'll show you. You're not seeing the link for Live UI. You should be able to see it. Is there no live UI in your designer portal? Are you not in designer studio? This developer portal, you should see this live UI. Or which version of Pega you are using. It can be something different. Maybe slightly the word might be different. But you can check the third icon. Okay, and you answer to your question, default harnesses, this is the 4 that I have told you. Pega's inbuilt harnesses, new, perform, review and confirm. Yes, Kiri, portal can contain only one harness, not many harnesses. Portal contains only one harness. That harness contains many sections inside it. Avinash use 721. I'll be sharing the software later. Yeah, it is UI Inspector. It is same as Live UI. Yes, guys, we can create new harnesses. but they are not going to act as any of these. They have their own purposes. You can create a custom harness, but they can't replace any of them. We do create custom harnesses when we are building Pega portals, like user portal, manager portal. We build harnesses. Okay. So this is how, like what we have worked till date. So, okay, we created stages and we have given that configuration. So Pega has automatically built the sections, flow actions, and flow mappings. So I want to see like what Pega has created. So I move to App Explorer. App Explorer is the place where I can see my classes and the rules under it. So if you come here, in my new application, I have many classes like this. Auto-generated by Pega when I have run that new application wizard. Okay, I didn't create these manually. They were auto-generated. So there are many classes and I'm currently working with the implementation layer. Okay, work, where is my current class? Okay, and this is my case type, means the work class name is leave. Okay, my class name is leave. So under my class, where can I see my flows, sections, flow actions and all these things? You will find many categories under your class like this. Okay, as you keep on creating new rule types, you will get categories, guys. Don't worry if you're not finding the categories, okay? As you keep on creating rules like this, if I create a rule under organization, organization category appears. If you create a rule under technical, technical category appears, okay? Do not worry if you don't see these categories. So, under process category, you will find the flows. So, if I expand process and I see flow, there are all the Pega's flows here. The flows that I have been building here. Like apply leave, approvals, notification and all the stuff I can see here. Okay. Now what about the sections and flow actions that Pega has auto built? Okay, let me see the flow actions here itself. Yeah, I have only dealt with one screen, right? So Pega has given me one flow action. I'll open it later, okay? I just want to see like whether the rules are there or not. I'm done with process category. I want to see sections. I would like to go to user interface. User interface is the place where you contain the URL. Okay. So here is your section. Okay. Similarly, you have given some fields on your screen, right? Like this. Pega has automatically created variables to store the data. So those variables you can find under data model. Like this. These are all the variables to store my data. Just give me a second, guys. I'll be back. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm back. Okay. So Pega has done all this for us. Okay. I'll get back to properties in the next topic, guys. So currently, agenda is only UI. So we are going to deal with only sections, flow actions, and harnesses for the next couple of days. Once you master one UI, I'll take you to the next step, which is properties. Okay. So now you have seen an automated way of building the sections, flow actions, and UI. And whenever you are creating a work object, Pega is by default giving you that screen. Now let me teach you manually how do you do this thing. Why do I need to learn manual things? Why can't you do the automated way in real time? You can't do it, guys. Because only whenever you are building the screen for, like for the flows for the first time, maybe you can go for an automated way. Okay? But if I want to, if I want some enhancements, okay, I can't all the time come and edit. If I want to make some changes to the screen means actually this section. So when you want to make changes to the screen, you should go to the screen. There's no point in coming to the flow and editing it. That is one thing. Means you want to edit one rule and you're trying to edit two rules. And the other thing is, let's say this is my section, right? you need to convert this. You need to click on this convert to full section editor to make it editable to you, because it's auto-generated by Pega. Okay. Now, let's say I want to add some more components to the screen, and I want to have a different type of look and feel. Like I want to give it as column wise. I want to divide my screen into two columns, left side view and right side view. Can I do it from here? No, I can't do it. Similarly, let's say for example, I want to break my screen into two tables or two layouts. So this is first layout. I'll explain you guys what is layout. But now just think that it's a table. Okay? I want to break my screen into two or more tables. The first table will contain some fields. Second table will contain some fields. So based on the input that the user provides in first table, I expect my second table to be visible or to be hidden. Okay? So I want to give it as different tables. Can you give different tables from this? No, you can't give. You can only simply specify what fields you want. That's it. Similarly, I want to put some visible when conditions. Let's say I want this to be hidden and shown on some based on some logic. Okay? So all such sort of things you can't do from here. It's just a simple way of creating a section flow action and the stuff. Okay? So we always prefer doing manually. In real time, we do only manually. We create sections, flow actions, and then add them to the flow. The first stage you have done it in an automated way, right? Second stage, anyways, Pega by default has given us. Third and fourth are emails. In the first stage only, we still have something else to build. Let me open the flow. It's apply leave, right? Okay. Guys, those who have already have this POC in your system, please come to App Explorer. Okay. Make sure you see this leave class. Expand leave. Expand process. Remember, I'm dealing with flows. Flow is a part of business process. So you'll find it under process category. Okay? So because it drives the business process, it's process category. Process. Okay? Now open your expand flows and open the flow apply leave. Okay? So you see the flow. So earlier Pega might have already placed your section and flow action onto your flow, right? Let me see where it did that. You can see it on the outgoing connector like this. You can see Pega has placed the flow action here. Then where is my hardness? On this shape you will see the hardness. Okay? So Pega has done all this for us. Now you are going to learn the manual way of doing it. But before you learn the manual way of doing it, okay, I need to teach you the shapes in a flow. Okay, let me start with the shapes in a flow. Then we learn how to manually build a section, flow action, properties, and how to map them and all that stuff. Okay, so this is called as a flow in Pega. Okay, so a flow is basically a network of shapes, a just network of shapes. And flow is the heart of the application in Pega because flow is what that drives the application. So whatever components you put on the flow is what the end user sees at runtime, and that is how your application works at runtime. So if I put a validation on my flow, that is what is going to happen. If I put a UI will display. If I put a backend function, functions will execute. If I put an email configuration, mail will be sent. So whatever you configure on the flow is what the end user sees. Okay? So flow is an important component that drives the application. So you simply build sections, flow actions, and harness, and if you do not map it onto a flow, it will not display to the end user. Because whatever you configure on the flow is what the end user sees. The end user is just navigating on your flow. Okay? So if it is not mapped to your flow, he's not going to see it. So let's see what is a flow, what are the types of flows we have in Pega, what are the various shapes we have in Pega, and flow shapes in Pega and all that. So this is what a flow is. A flow is a network of shapes. It's the heart of the application, and flow is the one on which the end user is navigating. So guys, for more information, let me show you this way. This is a default screen. Let me do some configuration to skip the screen. Okay, so this is the first thing the end user is going to see. You see this, he is an apply leave stage. Your first stage. Second stage. Third stage. Okay, and if you want to see where in the flow on the first stage you are, there is something called as where am I. Where am I means where I am in the flow. You can see this. So in the first stage, in the first step, you see this arrow? First step, I am on the green colored shape. So this is red mark. Now, let me move ahead with the screen. So we didn't configure anything in approval stage. It's a default Pega's out-of-the-box flow we have used. See, it was sent to manager for approval. Okay. We need to log off and log in as a manager to see this. Okay. But still, as I'm an admin person, I have access to open this. Okay. Otherwise, you see, it is routed to manager for approval. It will just show like this, and you will not get this link. Any users will not get this link. Because I am an admin, I see this link. Okay. So I open it, and you see where am I again. So as it is Pega's out of the box flow, you will see some out of the box flow. So don't get scared. See, this is approval. There's some out of the box flow. PY cascading that approval, and you are right now here. The red mark. And the stick marks indicates your path. So I came like this, I came like this, I came like this, and I came like this. Okay. So this is the use of where am I. Where am I tells you where you are in the flow. It's also a debugging tool. Why did I come show you this? I wanted to show you like, hey guys, we are navigating on the flows and we are creating work objects and moving from one screen to another screen. Okay. So this is how the end user navigates on the flows. Forget about this. Come back. So this is what a flow is, and that's the importance of the flow in your application. Now let's talk about the types of flows in Pega. This is even question in interview test, so it's an interview question. Okay. So people ask you what are the types of flows and the difference between some important flows that I'm going to teach you. Okay. So there are basically two types of flows in Pega. One is process flow and the other one is screen flow. So what is the major difference between a process flow and a screen flow? Just in screen flows, okay, we will have forward, backward navigation. Means whenever you create a case, if you see like this, you have an option to say, okay, let me create a new case. I'm creating a new work object, okay? You have an option to submit your screen. You have save and cancel. Do you say backward option? You can go backward, right? Whereas in a screen flow, you will have forward and backward navigation. Means instead of submit button, you will have next and previous buttons. So in a screen flow, you can move from one screen to another screen easily. Forward, backward navigations are present. Whereas in process flow, you do not have that forward, backward navigation. Other thing is, okay, in a screen flow, whole flow has to be processed by a single operator only. So in a screen flow, from the starting till the end of the flow, only one person has to work on it. Let's say, for example, if you take your current scenario, first screen was worked by me, second screen went to my manager, again third screen will come to me after he does the approval. So this cannot be done in a screen flow. In a screen flow, from the start of your flow till the end of the flow, only one person has to work. Okay? So in between routing is not possible in a screen flow. Okay? So in a screen flow, from the start till then, only one person has to work. Next. There are some configurations. Now you guys might be thinking, hey, in real time everybody might be using screen flows because if we have forward and backward navigation, then it's totally wrong. In real time, most of the times we use process flows, so screen flows are rarely used because it has many like limitations. Like I said, screen flow from the starting till the ending has to be used with a single operator only. That is not possible because in real time the data flows from one person to another person. From user to auditor, from auditor to reviewer, reviewer to manager, manager to somebody else. So we keep on routing from one person to another person. So we don't use screen flows for that one. Then the other few limitations are on a screen flow we cannot configure integrations. So like connect soap, connect rest or whatever, like JMS, all this kind of integration with external systems are not possible in a screen flow. Okay. Similarly, we have some flows, high-level flow types like split for it, split join and spin-off. I'll get back to you on that. There are two more limitations, guys. I need to explain you something else before I get back to those limitations. Okay, these are the current limitations. We don't have forward and backward navigation, but the major challenges are there are few limitations for it. Like it can't have multiple operators in between, no routings, so you can't do integrations. So there are some limitations for which we can't go for screen flows. And the other thing is that, like, let me give you a good example of where we use screen flows. An online exam. Okay? Let's say, for example, you guys are writing an online exam where I display one question per screen. So you want to go forward and backward. Maybe I didn't answer the first question. I thought, let me come back and answer it. I went to the 10th question and again I can come back to the first question. So I use screen flows. And in that case, end to end, everything is being operated by single operator only, right? From the beginning of the exam till the end of the exam, I'm the only person who answers the questions and I submit the screen. So all the 10 questions or 20 questions, they display one page, one question. So all the 20 pages will be operated by me. There's no in-between routings and all that stuff. Okay? So in such cases, you use screen flows. Another good example is, let's say I'm uploading my resume in Naukri on something. Okay? So they display me 3 screens. They ask me, first fill your personal information, then click on next, then fill your professional information, then click on next, then fill some other information. So all these 3 screens, I only fill. So I'm the only operator who uses it. So single operator is there. And you want to have forward backward navigation. Maybe I want to go back and change my personal information, or maybe I want to go back and change my skills. So in such cases, you go for screen flow. End to end, only one person will be using it, and you want to have forward and backward navigation. Okay? So these are the areas when we use screen flow. But I'm saying it, not majority of the flows are screen flows. Yeah, the ratio is very less. Okay? Then coming to process flows. So under process flows, again, we have types like starter flow, subflow. One second, guys. I'm just thinking this. Starter flows, subflows, and one second. Got it. Straight through. Okay. I don't think this has flow type, but it's like something we just categorize the flow like this. I mean, like whenever you create a flow, it will ask you type. The type is either process or screen flow. These are not actually types of flows, but based on the flow, the way it works, we configure them, we call them like this. Based on the purpose of the flow, we call them like this. Okay? Let me explain you, then you'll get a better context. What is a starter flow? Starter flow is the only flow which kickstarts your application. Or maybe kickstarts the work object creation. Okay. So now if you see, like whenever I click on create and there's a new case, the first flow that triggers to create my work object is called as a starter flow. Okay. That's it. So starter flows are the flows which kickstart building the work object creation, and they are the ones who give this ID to your work object. See, every work object has an ID, L-9, L-10. Okay. So this ID is generated by the starter flows only. Just because it's the first flow, we call it a starter flow. Okay, so there's no special, like as I told you, like there's not a type. Based on the work it is doing, I call it a starter flow. And what is a starter flow for your application? Now don't think it's get leaving for. No. Actually, who is starting this stage is the first starter flow. Okay, so there is a default flow in Pega called as TY start case. Okay. So you see this TY start case in your leave class. It's there in many classes, guys, because every class has a stage and every class will have the TY start case flow. Let's search for your class. This is my implementation class. How did I say it's implementation? Because this framework, FW indicates framework. The one that is without FW and with the same name. DOA, time off, work, leave is implementation. So this is my starter flow. Just open this. It's a Pega's default flow. What does it do? It starts your case type. What is case type? This one is your case type. So PY start case is a starter flow for your application who is going to start your case type or is going to start your stages. Okay? So that is starter flow. Who kickstarts your application? And you see one small configuration in starter flow. Okay? Starter flows will have this checkbox enabled. Create new work object. The starter flow is the only flow who can create a new work object. Others can process on the work object, but they do not create work objects. Okay? The starter flows kickstart building the work object creation. They will have a checkbox enabled. You can either disable it. You cannot disable it. By default, they'll get that. Okay? And what is a subflow? Like normal, if a flow is calling another flow, the child flow is called a subflow. The child flows are called as subflow. That's it. Child flow is a subflow. Nothing specific. See, I might call another flow. That flow is a subflow to me. But that subflow might be calling somebody else. So it becomes a parent flow in that context. Okay? That is nothing but a subflow. What is straight through processing? Straight through processing means a flow without screens. Or you can say a flow without human interaction. So straight through means my flow is not going to halt anywhere. When will a flow not halt anywhere? When there is no screens plugged onto the flow. So maybe you plugged in only functions, integrations, decisions. So you did all such kind of configurations on your flow and there is no screen configured on your flow. Such flows, we just call them as straight through processing because there is no human interaction screens in between. Okay, so they're just for your usage purpose only. So process flows are the flows which can be a starter flow, okay, and they drive your business. They only have the submit button, they do not have the forward and backward navigation, but they can call integrations, they can do routings and all that stuff which cannot be done in a screen flow. Okay, so the most popular interview question is they ask, what is the difference between a process flow and a screen flow? Then you need to say that screen flows cannot create work objects. That is very important thing. Then screen flows will have forward and backward navigation. Screen flow can be done by single operator only. Screen flows cannot have integrations. They cannot have routings. Sorry, they cannot configure integration. They cannot have routing, means transferring from one person to another person. Okay? And screen flows cannot act as starter flow, means they cannot create work objects. So people try to ask you a tricky question like this, like something they try to give you a scenario and they say like I need the screen flow. Then you can straightforward tell them screen flows cannot create work objects. Okay? So they cannot act as a starter flow. Somebody has a question, let me see. No, the question is, if an operator has a screen flow and you want to search some member details using an external service, in that time we will be calling integration. No, in that time you do not call integration because screen flow does not support integration. So no external integrations are possible in the screen flow. If you want to call some external service, you have to go with the normal process flow only. Maybe you need to come out of the screen flow, make another normal process flow, a subflow of screen flow. So have a subflow in a screen flow, and a subflow is a process flow. In that process flow, you put your integration. So that way you can achieve this requirement. But direct integration shape you cannot put it in a screen flow. You can have a normal flow as a child to screen flow, and you can achieve this. Okay, take a minute, try to understand this, get back with your questions, and just give me a second, guys. I'll be back. Just type your questions. I'll come back and I'll answer them. Okay, let me see another question. Okay, what is out of the box? Out of the box is inbuilt in Pega. Creating a new case in first assignment shape in a screen flow. Okay, okay. It looks like one of the interview questions. This is a question that how to create a new case in the first assignment. Modi, your question is not so clear to me. Creating a new case in the first assignment shape in screen flow. I'm not clear about this question. Can you please explain it in detail? But it looks like your question is something similar to you want to create a new case using a screen flow. I mean, like the first screen should be in a screen flow, but you can't do it using the screen flow. So how can you do it? Is that something you want to see? No, it can't be done in the first assignment set, but there's something that we can achieve it. I'll explain you. Okay. One of the interview questions says, they say that, let's say for example, I have a requirement. Whenever the employee creates a case, I have to display him three screens, like personal, professional, and something else, some other information. Okay, job information. So I have to display him three screens. And I want these three screens to be a screen flow. How do we do it? The first screen itself should be a screen flow, they say. How do we do it? So you want to use a screen flow, but screen flow can never act as a starter flow. I mean, it cannot create a case. So how do you do it? So what do we do? It's very simple. First, I'll create a process flow. Okay, so process flow will act as a starter flow. It starts creating work objects, right? So I'll have a starter flow or a process flow. That process flow will just make a call to a subflow, and that subflow is a screen flow. The screen flow will have this three screens, screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3. Okay? So, this way you can achieve this requirement. So, whenever the user creates a class, the first flow that triggers is process flow. It creates a work object. Process flow will do nothing except calling the subflow. So, subflow will have this, it will have all these three screens. So, the user will be in a screen flow when he sees the first screen. That is how we achieve this requirement. Okay? Yeah. Then somebody has a question. If your stage has only 3 shapes, but when you click down where am I, it has many shapes during the work of the process. Okay. Let me take you over there. Approval stage was not having 3 shapes. I never showed you the shapes now. See, this one we have used Pega's out of the box. If you remember, we used Pega's this one, approve and reject. So it was not my flow at all. I didn't define any shapes. So if you open this Pega's default flow, sorry, not from here. Maybe you can, or you can't open it from here. It is not at all my flow, right? So you're using Pega's default flow. So you're seeing all these shapes. It was something like Pega cascading approval something. You can't see the flow name here. You need to go to your case. Okay. Live UI. No, where am I? Okay. Let me open this flow. See, this is approval stage, approval step. Now Pega is calling, like we are calling Pega's out of the box flow. Get this one. It's only having one screen, but there are many shapes. Yes, because this is a decision shape. Okay, so this will not have any screens. It is just checking some condition. Is email allowed? It is saying, is there any routing? So just checking some conditions. If no, it will come here. So the green colored ones are the screens. Only at the green colored ones you'll see the screens. The rest all are like back end processing. Okay, so that's the reason you only see one screen here. Whenever you create a case. Okay, and even after I approve it, there is no reason that it will see another screen because they are different parts. If this when condition was no, it will come here. If it was yes, it will have gone there. So they don't come in a sequence. So after this, I'll never end up with this. Okay. Similarly, if this decision was yes, it might have gone here. Otherwise, no, it might have gone here. You will again never come up with this screen. Okay. So that is why we see only one screen in the approval flow. Does it answer your question? Okay. Guys, I'm just answering one by one question. So if I didn't answer your question, please don't think I ignored it because I'm in the middle of something. No, in this case, it is not going to create a work object. Because work objects can be created only in the beginning. And that is by a, what do you say, that starter flows only. So this out of the box activity or the function or the flow that you are calling is not a starter flow. It's just a subflow to me. And it is not going to create any work objects. You can have many subflows. They are not going to create work objects for us. Why do we land up with the concept of subflow? One thing is reusability. Okay, so this is something an approval flow. This can be used by everyone, right? See, it is something inbuilt by Pega. I use it in my application. You guys use it in your application. Somebody uses it in their application. That is the reason we build subflows because we want reusability. And the other good reason is you don't want to mess up your flow with so many shapes. So you try to break your flows into small subflows and you try to work upon them. Okay. Now I have some more questions, guys. Oh, really, Ravi? I missed it? Okay, I'm sorry then. Maybe there are so many logs, so I couldn't see, I guess. How to see the screen? Okay, okay. If you want to see the screen, I don't think you have the application, right? So what you can do is just simply search like this. TY cascading get approved, you'll find it. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Okay. Let me say you something. Guys, I have shared the PPTs and some PDFs to do hands-on from the scratch, and I have shared some materials for you to study. So please go through the material. Try to learn the topics that we have discussed till date, like stages, flows, okay, and the UI part, like sections and fractions. Okay, and the document that I gave you helps you in building a scratch application. So it's good if you start building a new application now. Because anyways we are done till flows. So why don't you start building now? Just try doing a parallel practice in parallel to this. Okay. And those who have joined you, please let me know if you need a jar of my application because you have to continue with us from tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, I have one more question as well. No, Gaurav, I also shared some PPTs. Didn't you receive the PPTs? Okay, do let me know then. I'll do it after the class. I'll share some PPTs as well. Okay, guys, one more thing. Like materials were only shared to the people who have completed the payment. So if somebody hasn't completed, okay, just make it. I'll do it. Gaurav, I'll share it to you after the class. Okay, and Ravi, this is the fourth or fifth class for us. Uh, one step per screen. I didn't get you, Giri. What is that factor one step per screen? Just explain me your question in detail. Uh, sure, Joe. Can you WhatsApp me on my number? I can share you the link. I'll share you my number. Just WhatsApp me on it. I'll share you the link. Oh, Chandra, you also didn't receive. Guys, those who have paid the payments and didn't receive the PPTs, please do remember me. I'll share you all the PPTs and there are some more PDFs for you for interview questions and all that stuff. I'll be sharing it to you today. Okay. Anything else, guys? Okay. Sure, Giri. Joe, please WhatsApp me now. Yes, classes at the same time tomorrow, guys. And use the same link also. Yeah, the same link for all our classes. Okay, fine. I'll share it over the mail. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Fine, guys. That's it for today. See you tomorrow at the same time. And please do have your application ready because I expect you people to practice in parallel with me. Do let me know if you need the jar. I'll be sharing it to you.